Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're jumping into a really intense and personal story of crisis and hope, and we're going to find it in one of the most powerful prayers in the Bible, Psalm 3.
But let's just start with a question that I think hits home for all of us at some point. How do you find real, genuine peace when your whole world just feels like it's on fire? When betrayal hits, fear is overwhelming, and everything seems to be falling apart? Well, this ancient psalm actually gives us a surprisingly practical roadmap.
So, to really get a grip on the hope in this psalm, we first have to feel the sheer weight of the crisis that created it. This isn't just some nice poem, it's a raw cry for help from a king in a truly desperate spot.
David just starts by pouring it all out. You can almost hear the exhaustion in his voice, can't you? Lord, how are they increased? Many are they that rise up against me. He feels completely surrounded. And then comes the line that cuts the deepest. Many there be which say of my soul, there is no help for him in God.
And here is the context that just makes this so gut-wrenching. This isn't some foreign army attacking him. No. This psalm was written while King David was literally on the run, fleeing for his life from a rebellion led by his own son, Absalom. Just try to imagine that profound, personal heartbreak, that betrayal.
So what this means is that David was fighting a war on two fronts. You've got the physical threat, which was very real. A huge part of the nation had turned on him. But that second attack, that was the spiritual one. The taunt that his lifelong faith was basically a joke, that even his God had finally given up on him. And let's be real, that's the one that hurts the most.
You probably noticed that word at the end of the verse, Selah. Now, it was likely a musical note, but for us, reading it today, it's like a powerful invitation to just pause, to stop for a second and really feel the weight of David's crisis. He's surrounded, he's betrayed, and people are mocking his faith. Just let that sink in.
Now, right after that heavy pause, the entire tone of the psalm pivots on a single powerful word. This is the moment where despair starts turning into a declaration of hope. This is where it all changes.
But thou, O Lord. That word but, it might be one of the most powerful turns in all of Scripture. Right here, David makes a conscious choice. He decides to stop staring at the massive size of his problems and to start declaring the even greater size of his God.
You can see the shift happen right here on the screen. In those first two verses, his focus is 100% on the problem, the number of enemies, the spiritual attacks. His head is bowed down in despair. But then, bam, he makes that deliberate shift. Instead of his enemies, he chooses to see God as his shield. Instead of their taunts, he focuses on God as his glory. And instead of his own despair, he sees God as the one who can lift his head up again.
So what do these things really mean? Well, he calls God a shield. That's a protector who literally gets in between him and the danger. He calls God my glory, which means his value, his honor. It's not tied to being king. It's not tied to his popularity. It's found in God alone. And the lifter up of mine head. What a beautiful picture. That's God restoring dignity and hope to someone who is just slumped over in shame and grief.
And you know what I find really fascinating? This wasn't just some quiet little thought in his head. David says, I cried unto the Lord with my voice. He said it out loud. And he had this total confidence that even though he was miles away, on the run, his prayer reached God on his holy hill. He knew without a doubt that he was heard. So what happens when you make that kind of dramatic shift in focus, away from the problem and onto the protector? Well, the result is something that is truly supernatural. You get peace right in the middle of the storm.
Okay, this verse is absolutely staggering. Just think about it. He is surrounded by an army that wants to kill him, an army led by his own son, and David says, he laid down and went to sleep. That's not a natural reaction, right? That is a supernatural peace that only comes from knowing who is really in control. He knew that if he woke up in the morning, it was only because the Lord himself had kept him safe all night.
And this right here reveals such a profound truth. See, true biblical peace isn't about having a life with no problems. It's about experiencing the presence of God right in the thick of your problems. It's a peace that defies your circumstances because it's anchored in a person, not in a situation.
And that kind of peace, well, it gives birth to some incredible confidence. Just look at this declaration. The same man who started this psalm totally overwhelmed by the number of his enemies now says he will not be afraid of 10,000s of them.
His entire perspective has completely flipped. He's not counting his enemies anymore. Why?
because he's remembering his one all-powerful God. He realizes that if God is on his side, the number of people against him is totally irrelevant.
So this all brings us to the final section, where David moves from his own personal trust to a universal truth about where our help really comes from. What is the ultimate source of our salvation?
What's so great is that this psalm gives us a practical pattern we can use in our own crisis. First, be honest. Just pour it all out to God. Tell him exactly how overwhelming it feels. Second, make that deliberate choice to stop staring at the problem and start declaring who God is. Third, actively trust in his protection and receive that supernatural rest he offers. And finally, declare the big truth that holds it all together.
So now that he's declared his trust, David prays for action. Arise, O Lord, save me. That's a battle cry. He's asking God to step into the fight for him because he's confident in God's character as a deliverer who can make his enemies powerless. And he ends with this final, powerful, all-encompassing declaration. Salvation belongeth unto the Lord. It's not David's strategy that will save him. It's not his few loyal followers. Salvation, in every single way, comes from God and from God alone. And that's really the ultimate takeaway for all of us. It doesn't matter what kind of deliverance you need today, whether it's from fear, from a financial mess, a broken relationship, or from sin itself. The source is always the same. It is found in God alone.
This explainer was based on material from the You Need Faith in Jesus team. Thank you so much for watching.